Aristotle once said that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Polkadot and its Parachain model shows just how true this is by unlocking a whole new realm of possibility for blockchain technology, promising a completely new space for innovation and integration between separate blockchains, the parts, which can all work together as a cohesive whole. The Astar network is one key player in this next big step in the crypto space, and it's what we're going to be talking about today. But to understand Astar, we first need to understand a little bit about Polkadot. As it stands, there are an endless number of blockchain projects being built. You see, different developers have been working on different blockchain projects where they've sought to improve the scalability and security of these various different blockchains. But this has now left us in a position where we have all these different blockchains that have sort of grown and been built in isolation from one another. And this is the problem that Gavin Wood saw when he was creating Ethereum. And he sought to correct this problem and solve it by building Polkadot. So in short, the Polkadot protocol is designed to create this one major ecosystem that allows unrelated blockchains to share or connect data between one another, like between the Bitcoin and Ethereum blockchains. The great thing about that is that all the major use cases of each blockchain are accessible by every other blockchain. So let's say that there was one blockchain that allowed smart contracts, had smart contract functionality, then another blockchain that doesn't have that functionality could use the functionality, the smart contract capabilities of that other blockchain. So essentially, if we were creating some sort of thing on one blockchain, we have free reign to use all the other tools and resources provided by every other blockchain because they're all connected with one another. In addition to this, the Polkadot network is designed to be super speedy and scalable, and they do this through using parallel blockchains, also known as parachains, that take a lot of the demand off the main blockchain, which is known as the relay chain. So what are these parachains? Well, they're essentially just these independent and individual blockchains that are connected to and secured by the central Polkadot relay chain, or the main blockchain. Each parachain is designed for a single purpose that provides a huge selection of different use cases. And as these parachains can all connect and communicate with one another, they build a high-performing network of blockchains that can work together to solve a particular problem, rather than having just a single blockchain trying to solve one problem by itself. If that all sounds a little bit confusing, I think I've got an interesting and useful analogy that can help us out. So imagine a shopping mall, or a shopping centre if you're from the UK like I am. And within this shopping mall or shopping centre, there are a bunch of different individual spaces that you can rent out as a shopkeeper, and as the owner of that space, as the owner of those shops, you can do whatever the hell you like with that space. You can have a hardware store, you can have a clothes store, you can make it into whatever sort of store you want. And for the customers, it's also super convenient because they can jump from shop to shop to shop in one quick trip, rather than having to take a car and go miles down the road to the next store. And the mall in this situation is essentially the thing that's providing all the utilities and securities for all the shops in that space. In this scenario then, the Polkadot relay chain is quite similar to the shopping mall, in that that shopping centre or the Polkadot relay chain provides the main foundation and security for everything else. And the parachains in comparison are like the individual stores, because the shop owners or the developers of those parachains can design that thing however they like. They can make it look whatever and make it do whatever they want it to do. So instead of designing and building a blockchain that's disconnected from everything else, so like building a hardware store in the middle of the desert, instead we can sort of connect it to a central parachain or to a shopping mall and utilize all the benefits that it provides. So I guess the question is, where does Astar fit into all of this stuff? Well, essentially Astar is one of the first and most successful parachains that has been launched on the Polkadot network, and it's basically built to solve one particular problem, and that's to bring smart contract capabilities to the Polkadot network. Basically, as we touched on earlier, Polkadot is built as a relay chain delivering security and governance, but this sort of means that there's a trade-off in its architecture such that it doesn't really act as a full blockchain. As a result, it doesn't have certain features such as smart contract capabilities. So what Polkadot is really doing is essentially acting as the security and the stability for the various parachains that are on the network itself. So the Astar project then is basically dedicated to providing these various different blockchains that are connected to the Polkadot network with this smart contract capability. And if you're not too familiar with the term smart contracts, they're essentially just these self-executing lines of code. So if you've got like a contract between a buyer and a seller, for instance, then that contract will execute once these preconditions have been met. But the important point for this video is that smart contracts are essential for the development of decentralized applications. And again, if you're not too sure what a decentralized application is, or a dApp, they're very, very similar to what you have on your mobile or your laptop, but they are built using blockchain technology. So if we want to create these dApps or these decentralized applications, we need smart contracts, and this is what Astar is all about, ensuring that there are these smart contracts in the blockchain network to ensure the development of these decentralized applications. Astar then is really trying to solve three main issues. Firstly, interoperability. Now, the concept of blockchain interoperability refers to the ability for various different blockchains to exchange and leverage data between themselves, and essentially to share unique types of digital assets from one blockchain to another. So for Astar, the project's goal is to become a multi-chain smart contract platform supporting as many blockchains as possible. One of the great things about this is that if you're building a decentralized application, it becomes so much easier because you can just find the suitable blockchain structure for the use case and essentially write that decentralized application in whatever language suits you. So Astar, for instance, provides a smart contract hub that allows for interoperability between smart contracts written in different languages. Second, as we've already mentioned, Astar gives blockchains smart contract capabilities. Now, obviously, not every single blockchain was made to be a development platform that's suitable for the creation of smart contracts. For instance, Dogecoin or Bitcoin, in fact, they were all just created purely for transactions, and so they don't really have a need for these smart contracts. But that doesn't really mean they won't benefit from the use of smart contracts, and that's where things like Astar would step in and really help them out. At the very least, these different blockchains should have access to the smart contract capabilities, even if they don't ever plan on using them. And in that way, Astar sort of helps them out. It gives them that functionality, it gives them that additional use case, should they ever want to use smart contracts in the future. Thirdly, providing EVM support. The Astar network supports decentralized applications using multiple virtual machines, namely WebAssembly and the Ethereum virtual machine. This may sound a little bit confusing, so let's just take one quick step back. Now, a virtual machine is basically just a computer that runs on the blockchain and allows smart contracts from multiple sources to interact with one another. So to run smart contracts on different blockchain platforms, we need these virtual machines to enable smart contracts written in one language to be able to run on another blockchain platform. And if this wasn't the case, if this wasn't allowed, then it would take developers a hell of a long time to create new code or learn a new language and test these smart contracts on these various different blockchains. So this just saves a lot of time and effort for developers. Like, just imagine that you're a decentralized application developer, a dApp developer, and you've built your dApp and you've put it onto one of the leading blockchains, and you've got a really good solid user base, it's going really, really well, and you start thinking about the future like, hey, what's my next step? How can I get even more users and grow my application to the next level? You may decide, hey, I want to go onto another blockchain. I want to provide my application to more users by expanding to more blockchain platforms. Now, the hard way to do that is to learn to code for that relevant platform. So to code your application in a new language is going to take time, effort, and energy. But the easy way of doing that is to use a virtual machine. A virtual machine allows us to almost automatically integrate our application onto various different blockchains without having to learn that new language first. Astar then, through its support of different virtual machines, allows different builders from different backgrounds to get involved on the Polkadot chain. Finally, let's take a really quick look at how individual users can benefit from the Astar project. And there are really three key user benefits. Let's start with the fact that the project allows for Layer 2 application developers to make a deposit on the Layer 1 smart contract and make Layer 2 apps. In other words, through Astar, Layer 2 decentralized applications can arrive at blockchains where they didn't have a presence before. And they do this in a really simple and seamless way where the developers don't have to go around and learn a completely new language or go through any hassle to make it happen. As if decentralized applications weren't incentivized enough to participate in the Astar network. I mean, who wouldn't want access to all those different blockchains? dApp staking is also a possibility too. So Astar has its own native cryptocurrency, and those who hold the tokens can stake it on their favored decentralized application. In other words, if you have an Astar token, you can give that money, I guess, to the relevant decentralized application developers, and they can use that money then to finance their particular projects, or those applications that they're building. Essentially, the public, you and me, can sort of walk into the Astar store of new applications, and we can put our money towards those applications we like the look of. And if that application does particularly well, it grows and it succeeds, we even get rewarded for staking our money on that project. So it's kind of like an investment, and if that investment does well, we make money, we make more Astar tokens back in return. Finally, we've got governance. Now, the Astar token has one final use case, and that is if you hold an Astar token, you can use it to vote on important changes and developments that are happening within the Astar network. Now, as Astar is 100% a decentralized network, it requires its community to ensure those decisions are made and to ensure it evolves and improves over time. Overall, I think the Astar project is brilliant. They've really thought hard about their technology, and they've definitely put the developers and the community at the forefront of their mind as they built it. But in order for these guys to really thrive, I think they need to focus on building a really solid, strong leadership team behind them that sort of complements their tech focus in the same way that Avalanche, Solana, and Moonbeam and other companies have also done. But I think over time this will definitely happen, and we'll surely be hearing more about Polkadot and the Astar project in the future.